The screen door slammed twice in the wind before Jeb could catch it. Dust scratched at his throat, the kind that clung to your skin like regret. He squinted through the storm and saw them, two figures crawling up the path like ghosts. The boy walked first, 11, maybe 12, shoulders squared, jaw locked in some quiet, shaking courage. The girl trailed behind, shawl clutched in her fist, bare feet cut and red. Both of them filthy. Thin. Jeb said nothing, just stepped off the porch slow, like approaching a coyote you weren't sure was dying or dangerous. The boy stopped 5 paces out, stared right at him. "Our mama died this morning," he said. Flat. No tears. "We got nowhere to go. Rancher." Jeb looked past him, toward the little cart they'd pulled. No mule. One busted wheel. A pot. A cracked mirror. A Bible wrapped in a feed sack. Nothing else. The girl didn't look up, just held that shawl tighter. Wind tugged her hair across her mouth. Jeb rubbed the edge of his beard. "What's your name, son?" "Caleb." "This here's Nora." She still didn't speak. He studied them. Skinny as fence wire. The kind of kids who'd eaten what they could catch and buried what they couldn't outrun. He looked at the sky, then back at the house. He hadn't let a soul past his gate since the war ended and the grays got cold. But something flickered in that boy's eyes. Not a plea, not fear, just worn out, bone-deep determination. Jeb saw it once before, in the mirror 20 years ago. He reached out, pulled the door open. "Then you're already home," he said. Inside, the floor creaked like it was waking up. Nora stepped over the threshold first, careful not to smear blood from her heel. Caleb followed, standing straight like he was waiting to be judged. Jeb set a pan of water by the fire and pointed to the chair. "Sit. You eat. You don't talk unless you want to. Tomorrow we patch that foot." Caleb nodded once. Nora climbed into the chair like it might vanish. She didn't let go of his shawl. Out the window, the wind started to die. The storm moved on, dragging shadows behind it. Jeb watched it go, arms crossed, heart heavy. By evening, word had already begun to spread. In the saloon, they'd say it with spit and whiskey. Old Slat Iron took in a pair of strays. Can't tell if he's gone soft or set in bait. Back in the house, Jeb handed Nora a biscuit. She reached for it with both hands. "Thank you," she whispered, almost afraid the sound would break her. Jeb didn't smile, just nodded and stirred the beans. The fire popped like gunshots in the hearth. He didn't ask where they came from. He didn't have to. A rifle shot cracked in the canyon, sharp and distant. Jeb dropped his hammer, hand already on the revolver at his hip. Caleb froze mid-step on the fence post, eyes wide. "Coyote." "No," Jeb said, scanning the ridge. "Too clean. That was a man." He motioned the boy down. Dust kicked up as Caleb jumped from the post, landing light for someone who barely filled his boots. Nora watched from the porch, her doll, stitched from burlap and buttons, clutched tight in her arms. Jeb waited, listened. Nothing but wind and cicadas. He holstered the Colt, but not before checking the cylinder. That night, Jeb lit only one lamp. The barn doors stayed bolted. He sat with his back to the wall, knife on the table beside the tin plate. "Who'll be shooting out here?" Caleb asked, breaking a biscuit in half. Jeb looked over his shoulder at the window, where the stars were too still. "Men who don't like to knock." Caleb didn't ask more. Later, in the dark, Jeb lay awake, hearing footsteps from another time, boots stomping over the bones of memory. He remembered fire, blood on dry ground, a saloon in Pecos where 5 men didn't leave breathing, and a woman's voice calling his name before the war took her, then everything else. He closed his eyes. Ghosts don't bother me none. The next morning, they found the drifter. Half dead, leaning on the corral rail, one hand pressed to a gut wound. "Water," the man rasped, sliding down into the dirt. "They're coming. La Grula's men. Heard silver under the mesa." Jeb gave him a drink. Nothing more. The man bled out by sundown, whispering names like curses. Jeb buried him where the mesquite grows crooked. "Who's La Grula?" Caleb asked. "A man who kills for what don't belong to him." "You know him?" Jeb stared at the shovel. "We met. Long time ago." Wordless, he walked to the barn, pulled back a tarp, and stared at the rusted gate covering the mine shaft. He hadn't thought about that hole in years. Hadn't cared. But silver, Real silver, could make men foolish. Or dead. Inside, Nora sat braiding her doll's hair. "Papa used to say the desert's full of dead men walking," she said softly. Jeb glanced toward the mine. He wasn't wrong. That night, the wind brought the smell of smoke from town. The sheriff wouldn't help. He never did. Jeb sat alone on the porch, oiling the lever of a rifle that hadn't been touched since Lincoln died. Across the dark fields, something moved in the mesquite. He didn't flinch. Not yet. Jeb kicked open the barn floorboard. Dust swirled in the lantern light. Caleb leaned over the edge, eyes wide. "What is it?" the boy asked. Jeb didn't answer. He pulled out the pine crate like it weighed memories instead of wood and iron. The lid creaked open. Inside, 2 Colt Walkers, a rust-wrapped bandolier, and a Winchester with initials carved deep in the stock. Caleb ran a hand over the rifle. "Yours." Jeb nodded once. The boy's voice was quiet. "You gonna run?" Jeb didn't look at him. Wasn't the plan. The kid held his breath. "Then good, 'cause we ain't running either." Outside, coyotes yipped somewhere out in the brush. The sky above was black and heavy, stars like shards of broken glass. Jeb lit a second lantern. "Sunup's in 5 hours. That's enough time." "For what?" He handed Caleb a shovel. "To make this place a graveyard." They worked fast. Jeb set wire traps near the arroyo, sharpened stakes at the fence line. Caleb hauled planks, dragged barrels, jammed nails without flinching. Nora climbed the water tower and spotted from the crows nest with a spyglass made of old copper. Dawn came slow. They ate cold beans on the porch, rifles resting against the wall. "You ever shoot a man?" Jeb asked. Caleb swallowed. "No. Shoot at their knees first. Men can't aim when they're bleeding." Caleb gave a sharp nod. Didn't blink. Jeb leaned back. His side ached where old scars pulled tight. "If it turns bad, take Nora. Ride hard to the mission up north." "I told you," Caleb said, fists clenched. "We ain't running." Jeb studied him. There was no boy left in that voice. He looked down at the rifle in his lap, brushed the dust from the carved names on its stock. Towns. Trails. Men. One last space sat empty. Nora climbed down from the tower just before sunrise. "Riders," she whispered. "Dust cloud. 12, maybe more." The wind died. The morning went still. Even the crows stopped calling. Jeb stood, slid 6 shells into his Colt. "Get behind the barrels," he said. "Keep your head down. And if you hear me fall, don't wait." Caleb stood, shouldering the Winchester. "We'll wait." Jeb turned, gave him one long look. "You're too damn stubborn," he muttered. "Learned it from you," Caleb said. The hoofbeats started as a dull tremble in the dirt. By the time the gang crested the hill, rifles gleaming in the dawn, the Pritchard ranch was quiet. Still, except for one figure standing at the gate. Waiting, the first rider dropped before he saw the wire. Jeb fired once, clean through the chest, and vanished behind the well as the man toppled into the dust, boots still twitching. The others scattered, kicking up clouds of grit, shouting curses in Spanish and slurred English. From the crow's nest, Nora flashed sunlight off a broken mirror, signaling. 2 on the left, 1 moving for the barn. Jeb moved faster. The lever on his Winchester snapped down, barked, snapped again. The second rider fell off his horse, screaming, clutching his thigh. "Hold the fence." Jeb shouted. Caleb answered with gunfire from the hayloft. 2 quick shots. One bandit's hat flew off. The man dove behind the water trough, didn't move again. Then came La Grula. Black duster, silver buttons, snake-tooth grin. He rode straight through the smoke like it was church air, twin pistols raised, shouting Jeb's name like a hymn. "Slat Iron. I knew you'd come back to blood." Jeb stepped into view, rifle raised. "I never left it." They traded shots across the yard. Sparks flew from the barn wall, bullets chewing wood and dirt. Jeb felt one burn past his ribs, tearing cloth and skin. Didn't stop him. Another rider charged from the side. Caleb's bullet caught him just behind the eye. The man slid off his horse like wet laundry. "Stay down." Jeb yelled up at the loft. "No, sir," Caleb answered. A scream came from the fence line. One of the bandits had stumbled into the punji pit. Steel spikes, snap bone. He howled until Jeb silenced him with a single shot. Jeb reloaded behind the trough, breath shallow. Blood soaked through his shirt, warm and sticky. He glanced toward the porch. Nora was crouched behind the barrels, clutching the doll, eyes sharp, waiting. More riders fell. 2 turned tail. 1 ran until a trap wire snapped his leg like a twig. Only La Grula remained. He dismounted, hands up, walking through the smoke with that same cursed grin. "You're hurt, old man. You done? Let's end it like legends." Jeb dropped the Winchester, drew the Colt. La Grula drew faster. But he fired wild, his hand shredded by a mirror shard Nora had thrown like a stone. He screamed, clutched his face. Jeb didn't hesitate. 1 shot. La Grula hit the dirt. Didn't move. Silence. Jeb staggered, dropped to 1 knee. Caleb ran from the loft. Nora followed, arms out calling his name. "I ain't gone yet," Jeb muttered, breath ragged. "Don't bury me till I stop cussing." They helped him to the porch. Smoke curled behind them. The yard was littered with brass, blood, and men who'd made a fatal mistake. Later, the sheriff arrived, too late as always. "Thought you were done killing," he muttered. Jeb spat blood in the dirt. "I was, till they came for my family." And that was how Slat Iron's legend was sealed. Not in the wars he fought, but in the ones he chose to win.